Hello, this is Redwind,
And Honora.
and this time we're back, and we're talking about one-handed ranged weapons and throwables.
These have been kind of put in the same category because when you finish shooting all the charges of a one-handed range weapon, it's just a throwable. It's a bad throwable.
Yeah.
And there are only 3 one-handed range weapons. So,
We figured we'd combine them.
yep.
So, at this point, we've done this multiple times. We're gonna take a second to collect them all, and then we'll...
Collect them all.
Oh,
Override.
No. Oh, no. We're gonna take a second to collect them all, and then we'll be right back. So, yeah, this is the Claymore. It doesn't belong in this category, but it's better than everything else, so we put it in there anyways. Oh, wait, this needs to go.
Okay, so this is one-handed ranged weapons and throwables. And the throwables are just really hard to control where they drop, so we didn't bother trying to put them all nice and neat and lined up. Plus, they're one-time use, so we kind of got some extras. So the worst throwable, the worst one-handed ranged weapon is the Uzi. It deals 2 damage per shot, and that's only if the shot hits. It doesn't always. Like, you can see how many shots there are, but if I back up, I mean, you can see the dots around him and how bad the accuracy is. Now, you can throw it after it's out of shots, and it deals 10 damage. Whenever you throw an item that deals 10 damage, same as the punch. Said that in the one-handed melee video, but
did you sound off first?
sorry, one-handed melee weapons video. Well, it's kind of up in the air, which of those is actually better. But I just thought I'd repeat it. The Uzi is probably the worst just because it has a really low damage output. I mean, if you shoot the entire gun straight into your opponent's face, pretty much as best as is practically possible, you'll deal about 30 damage, so it's the same as punching somebody 3 times. But it is free damage, you don't have to put yourself in harm's way always.
Yeah, it's just kind of annoying to the other person, because when you're getting shot, your screen goes all rainbowy and everything. It's super weird, but it just annoys the other person.
It kind of looks like it's supposed to be in 3D if you were in 3D glasses.
Yeah.
So this here is the sawed-off shotgun. I can't get a good side view of it. Here, you can, though. See? There is a shotgun, too, but this is the sawed-off shotgun. It's one-handed. All one-handed ranged weapons you can have view lock with. That's super helpful. You can never have view lock on with a 2-handed ranged weapon, so it's a pretty important distinction. Sawed-off shotgun deals 2 to 8 damage. If you're like super far, like each of the little bolts, as far as I can tell, each bolt deals 2 damage, and you shoot 4 with each one, I think. And it deals pretty good damage. And then when you're out of shots, like I am right now, you throw it, get 10 damage, and a knockback effect. The next is the blaster. This is the strongest of the one-handed ranged weapons, but it's not. It's also the easiest to avoid. Just try to avoid this.
No. Okay.
So I mean, if he knows that I have it, he's not gonna get hit. So you have to be in one of those situations where you're gonna be pretty close to the other person to try to hit them. Really.
But it does the most per shot.
Deals 8 damage per shot,
And the
then of
thing
course
is-
you get to throw it,
Yeah.
and you get a knockback effect.
Okay, so now...
So then on to throwables.
I don't think we should... Well, yeah, we'll do these in an order. I'd say the
The
grenade.
worst throwable is the stun grenade.
Oh, is it?
Oh, for sure. This is the one that I have in my hand right now. It's this one here off my right shoulder as well, the one floating there.
It's like a cylinder.
Yeah, between us. So the stun grenade, it's a flashbang. I don't know why they call it a stun grenade, but in the game it's called a stun grenade. We're just going to call it the flashbang from here on out. So y'all heard it here first, it's flashbang. You throw it, and it bounces around a bunch. That was actually the neatest throw I've ever made with a stun grenade. It usually bounces around a ton, it's really unpredictable, and then it blows up and it just stuns the person for a little bit. Not even very long, it's like a second. Honestly, its best effect is to use the D-pad to actually throw it and get 10 damage off of it. Because if you actually throw it, it'll just hit the person and settle to the ground, and he could totally have just dashed away.
Yeah, and it doesn't do any damage when it shocks you, so...
Yep, no damage at all. And it's, these are actually really neat throws. I've never made such neat throws in a game. Next worst is the grenade. It has the same type of throw, and it bounces around for a while, except this one is round, and they take that into account by how much it bounces around everywhere. And its tiny blast radius means 95% of the time when you throw it, even if he's not trying to dodge it, he won't get hit. That was actually pretty lucky. But you're always moving in an actual game. It's never going to do that.
It's really, I mean, both of those you can just use as actual throwables to hit the person in the face.
Yeah, you can just use the D-pad to throw them. And so you're not detonating them, technically dropping the item using the drop animation. That's the best one. We're not going to use that one yet. But that's the best. Dropping the item will just make you throw it. Yeah, probably the Molotov cocktail next. This here's the Molotov cocktail. It explodes into fiery glory as soon as it hits the ground. And it deals damage really fast. You see how my health is going down. It's 1 damage per little bit. I have no idea exactly how fast it goes.
Yeah,
I haven't been able to find that out.
It's pretty good. It's just, it kind of reserves an area for you, because if I stood in it, it doesn't hurt me. So one thing we use is to throw it into the power zone, and then you can stand in there for a second. Most of the time, the other person knows it's worth it for them to dash through the top of the power zone. And an FYI about the Molotov cocktail, it will hurt you if you dash over it too.
Yeah. Oh, not you if you threw it, the other person. It'll hurt.
Yes.
Yeah, if they dash over it. But also important to note about the Molotov cocktail is it has no explosion damage. So when if it just deals straight one damage over and over again, as long as you're standing.
But it's got a really big radius, so that's why we like it a lot.
So this here is the shock mine. You can see I just threw it on the ground. It's gonna stay there until he gets nearby. And it's gonna zap him, and he's frozen, and I punch him or whatever.
It probably makes me frozen for 2 seconds, maybe.
Second and a half, or 2 seconds, somewhere in there.
I think it's better. It shocks you for longer than the shock grenade does. Flashbang.
It's the most consistent for sure. It never misses. You cannot miss with the shock mine.
I mean, if they don't walk past it, then that kind of counts as missing, but it doesn't.
So now I'm standing here on a similar type of object, the proximity mine.
And this one's the hardest to see. I mean, it's tiny.
Oh, yeah.
If I'm not looking for that, I'm never going to see it.
It is the best one.
I actually don't know where his is, so I'm going to walk towards him.
And it'll blow him up. When he gets close, it'll start a little, about a second and a half countdown.
So it gives you a little bit of time. If you see that flash and if you hear it,
you
might
should
be able
dash in the same direction that you're already moving.
Yeah.
And that's important, because if you dash the other direction, so dash... Well, he should have actually been able to avoid that probably, but...
Well, yeah, but I'm not as good as you are. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the throwables and the one-handed ranged weapons. You should note that any item that you throw, if it hits your opponent, whether in the head or in the toe, it'll always deal 10 damage, same as a punch, and it will always no, don't start shooting that yet. We're going to show them in a second what you can do with that. And it will always give a knockback effect of the same amount. So if they're in the air, it'll knock them over. It'll send them staggering backwards if they're not. So dual wielding is very popular. Getting 2 one-handed ranged weapons is really strong. If I am trying to close in on him and get some damage off, there are a few things that I could try to do. Oh, man. You see how much damage I took just trying to get a hit in on him?
Now, I overheated, so it made
because
it
he was shooting so much. Because he was shooting so much,
and because I was
wasn't
flying,
using his overheat and flying, yeah.
And that's where, you know, once you can't use the gun anymore, you just throw it at the person.
So yeah, dual wielding is very popular, and you'll see that a lot.
Especially with 2 blasters.
Have our little turnies.
Because this one's the hard one to hit, but it does the most damage. So when he comes in to hit me, you know, look how much damage he just lost. As to how much he got on me. You know, so when you start doing something like that takes a charge and keeps it stationary for a second, like his power does, it's really good for me to have those 2 guns, so I can fire them both, and it does a good amount of damage too. And whenever I'm out, of course I'm losing this fight right now because this is a melee fight. but I can throw those at him.
Yeah, you don't want to get stuck under something like that if you have ranged options. So yeah, and that's you'll see the dual wielding a lot in our tourneys, which we're gonna start very shortly after we release two-handed ranged weapons. Two-handed ranged weapons.
We'll still have other.
And then after that, we'll release shields and collectibles will be one video. Shields and collectibles.
Consumables.
Yeah, well, consumables, collectibles, whatever.
Okay.
The canisters, the red, green, and blue canisters, and once we release shields and canisters, we'll release a tourney video, which will be the first of many. We have a tourney style that we do, and you guys will just see us fighting using the methods that we've been talking about. You'll see me smash Redwind's face.
Yes, no, I would try and counter smack talk, except I actually only win about 20% on my good days. So, it's, yeah.
So,
we know just about as much about the game, but he's just a little bit better than me. But yeah, we will keep making some tutorials about, specifically about how to approach fighting. And we'll do that throughout our tourneys. We won't do them in the tourney videos.
we'll just mention them after.
But we'll have tutorial videos, and we might actually reference some of our tourneys so that we can show you real moments where like actually something bad happened and it was legitimate, or something good happened and it was legitimate. And so we're hoping that those tourneys can really help us show you guys some strategies we have for things. That's like the worst power too.
Get it? Noob.
Crap. So yeah, once we get done with the actual like what is physically in the game, we'll have tactics tutorials along with tourneys. So
yeah, that's what's coming up soon, and
once again, we'd really appreciate it if you guys would like and subscribe.
It just helps us get off the ground, and
the game Override is heard of. A lot of people know what it is, but haven't played it or just think it looks uninteresting. There's a lot underneath this game. There's a lot of looks. It has a very specific style, and it's given people first impressions that are mostly incorrect. The game is very detailed, and yes, it could use a lot of fixes.
Like actually useful maps.
Yes, the maps could be a lot cooler. That's one complaint.
This is the only map that's in any way unique, except for Egypt.
Yeah. So, we really want to increase the popularity of this game, hopefully so that, the studio can start getting a lot more feedback and can improve the game a lot, because it's not going to get improved if they don't have a fan base to tell them what they want, Yeah.
So like and subscribe, and also comment, tell us the questions that you had, and we'll be sure to answer them. Trust me, we're checking every day for comments on any videos because there are none.
Yeah.
So be first. You could be first ever. Consider that. You could be the ultimate first. So
You could.
yeah. But until next time, I've been Honora.
And I've been Redwind.
And we'll see you guys later.